We're gonna smoke some grass after a while. That didn't sound right. We're not gonna smoke grass. We're gonna kill the grass out here. Hey everybody, it's Micah here with Peachtree Farm and Greenhouse, and we got our farm manager,
Korbin,
out here in the pumpkin patch. Too hot to work during the middle of the day out here, so we come out late of the evening, try to chop out a few weeds. And we've got pretty good weed control out here, but there's a few spots that I may have missed with the sprayer like this. So we get the old-fashioned chemical out and chop them out. It's just part of it. We got rained out Saturday evening out here. We were going to start, and came a storm and rained us out of the patch. So we're going to be out here now and see if we can get a few rows knocked out before it gets dark on us this evening. May have hit it, and I just didn't get it activated in time. Some chemicals that we use takes a little rainfall on it to activate it, to make it work. More than likely I missed it though. This brings back some memories of chopping out tobacco with my mom and dad, and I hated it. You hear what I found? It's a flat stacker pumpkin, or will be, well on its way. Yep, I just figured out why we have weeds in the patch. I'm blaming Austin. So the video cut off here, but what I was trying to say is that I am blaming our neighbor Austin, who we buy our chicken litter for fertilizer from, and that all of these weeds in our pumpkin patch came out of the chicken litter and not from my lack of ability to spray everything that needs to be sprayed in the patch. Of course, I'm joking, kind of. Some plants out here we can pull up by hand, like the ragweed here. But be careful, because right there is spiny amaranth, spiny pigweed. Don't want to touch that, do you?
Nope.
It's got thorns all over it.
Oh.
It will eat you up.
Yeah.
So we got a few different weeds that we fight the most out here. And here's the 4 that drive us the most crazy. This is just common ragweed, smooth pigweed or amaranth, the spiny amaranth, and it has some little bitty thorns all over it that will eat you up. Is nettle, and nettle has some great big thorns on it. You can see right there. So we definitely want to get these 2 out, because when people come to pick pumpkins, we don't want them to be getting eat up with thorns. And we want to get these out because, like all of them, they just take up nutrients that our pumpkins could be using to grow bigger, better, more healthy pumpkins.
I don't know why we have to be out here with these hoes and knocking out all these weeds instead of making like weed killer where these pumpkins can still grow good and the weed killer will kill all the weeds. And I really wonder how that doesn't happen when, like, on all the other crops you can spray.
The chemicals that we could spray on the pumpkins to kill the weeds in the pumpkins are only chemicals that will kill grasses, because any chemicals that will kill these weeds that we just talked about, the ragweed, the pigweed, and the nettle, will also kill the pumpkins because they're all broadleafs. So we can't spray anything to kill those now that the pumpkins are up. Before the pumpkins come up, there's some chemicals that we can spray on, which we did. It's just that now that the chicken litter's down, there's some weed seed in that chicken litter that's going to germinate and come up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
One thing you'll notice here is that we have some weeds that are out here between the rows, but the weeds that are up here in amongst the pumpkins, here's the pumpkin plant, and it's a vine all the way around this weed, so we can't chop that out. So we got to reach down here, pull it out by hand, that dirt back down there in the hole, and throw that ragweed out there in the middle. Let's just be honest, this is the part of farming that sucks. It's no fun, is it?
Nope.
Korbin said he wishes we just had other people that could do this for us. I don't blame him, I wish we did too. But I remember being out in a tobacco patch with my family when I was Korbin's age, and I hated every minute of it. Said I would never do it. You know what? I'm not doing it in a tobacco patch. I'm doing it in a pumpkin patch. All right, we've got that far done in this row. That row's almost completely done. We just got all this left. Not every row is bad, but there's maybe 4 or 5 rows that I guess I just missed it. That's all I can say. I'm sorry, Korbin. Caused us a lot of work, didn't I?
Kinda.
You about to chop my toe off? Hey! We really want to try to get all these weeds out by their roots, because that's the thing with weeds. If you don't get them by the roots, they'll just sprout right back. They'll do anything to live, and I'll do anything to kill them. I hate weeds.
There was 2 bugs that just flew in my eye, and I wish I had something to kill these bugs with too.
Maybe you just need to whip them with that hoe. Isn't it funny how they'll grow right there at the pumpkin vine where there's a pumpkin? I just pulled this weed from right there. That's why we pull them. And so they don't poke you when you're out here picking them.
Look at this big bag weed. There we go. Timber.
I don't know many 9-year-olds, soon to be 10 later this week, that are out working in fields like this one. And what just happened?
I got a good blister right
Good
there.
blister from that chopping out weeds. Go get you a Band-Aid.
Okay.
And then come back, ain't you?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's raising country boys right there. Stop long enough to get a Band-Aid for his blister and then come back and get his tool of choice. Proud dad moment. Typically, we would no-till our pumpkins in. And what that means is we would just come into a field, spray it to kill everything out there, and plant our pumpkins in there. And then spray something over the top to keep any weeds from coming up. That's what we did last year and had really good success. We had a little weed pressure, but nothing major. But this year, we ran into a little snag. We were going to put these on the farm next door that we leased this year, and come to find out, it had been sprayed with a chemical, had some residual left over, and that residual wouldn't let the pumpkins grow. It's a great chemical for pastures, but you definitely can't come back with pumpkins very soon afterwards. So we opted to plow up and disc this field, as you saw in our earlier video this spring, and we planted them conventionally in here. Now, conventional tillage is pretty good for plant emergence. Sometimes in no-till you need to go a little heavier on the seed rate, just because not all the plants are going to make it up through that matter on top. But that's okay, because with conventional till, you get to fight stuff like this. That's just the nature of the beast. That's farming. God said in Genesis that we would have to labor on the land, and sometimes it would fight against us. And I think this is what he's talking about. It's pigweed and ragweed and morning glory and thistles and everything else that's growing where you don't want it to grow. But I'm thankful that I've got weeds to fight. How about a quick tour of what type of pumpkins and gourds and cushaws we're raising this year? First up, we have county fair. This is a field trip size pumpkin. It'll get somewhere between 2 and 5 pounds. Hope you can see that there. But they're perfect for little kids to carry out on their own. They go crazy over them. Another pumpkin that is all the rage these days are stacker pumpkin. Some people call them Cinderella or fairy tale pumpkins. And we have about 10 different varieties of those this year. Here's one, you can see. Ooh, here's a good size one right here. Check that baby out. Hand for reference. So a lot of these rows out here are the stacker style pumpkin. And we've got them in all different kinds of colors and shapes. Some of them with big deep ribs. Some of them are really smooth. So there's a stacker pumpkin for everyone. Some of them are blue, some of them are white, some of them are orange. If you can't find the stacker pumpkin that you like here this year, then I say that you're the problem. I'm just joking. If we don't have the stacker pumpkin that you want, please let us know, because we want to grow pumpkins for everyone. Now right here will be a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. Hard to believe that that stacker pumpkin over there is bigger than this one right now, but this one will be somewhere around 35 to 50 pounds by the time it's fully grown and mature. Now this is another stacker pumpkin variety. I see a lot of blooms, but I'm not seeing any pumpkins yet. But if you notice the veining on these leaves, I was a nervous wreck that I had a disease going crazy on some varieties. Some varieties just have this pigmentation on their leaves. There's nothing to be alarmed or concerned with. That just some varieties do that on their leaves. It's completely healthy. So right in the middle of our pumpkin patch, we've got a few rows of sunflowers for some photo opportunities. While you're out here picking your pumpkins, you'll be able to take some pictures. Hopefully these will be blooming at the same time that people are out here picking their flowers, or picking their pumpkins. I guess you can pick the sunflowers too while you're out here. We might just do that. This row right here is as perfect and beautiful as you can get. You know why? My lovely wife and my son planted these 2 rows by hand, and they look great. They're perfectly spaced, hardly any weed pressure, just a few right over there. That's what happens when you get a good stand of pumpkins. So here we have little mini gourds in this row. There'll be different shapes and sizes and colors in this. And then there is a variety over there with different leaves. And the reason is that's not a pumpkin. Yeah, I know this is a pumpkin patch, but where I come from, cushaws are very popular. And I'm not seeing any that has set fruit yet, but this plant with this kind of leaf right up through here, those are cushaws. Cushaws have a long neck, and that's where it's all meat. The flesh inside the neck is the part that's the best because there's no seeds in the neck. So they will use the neck of the cushaw and make cushaw pie. Golly, Miss Sally Berkshire made the best one I've ever put in my mouth. It's so good. But we're not only growing green striped cushaw, we found orange striped cushaw this year too, and I have never grown those or saw those growing before, so pretty excited to see those. And Sally, if you're watching this, I'd really like to have a cushaw pie. So the majority of the pumpkins out here in the field are either jack-o'-lantern or stacker style pumpkins. We do have some small gourd type pumpkins. We do have a few cushaw, but the majority are jack-o'-lantern and stackers because those are the most popular. And just for funsies, for my kids, we want to do something a little bit different. So we got some Atlantic giant pumpkin seeds, and that's these 2 rows behind me. We didn't get really good emergence, and I'm not sure why, but the plant really doesn't grow very big. So hopefully the name is definitely referring to the fruit, because the fruit's supposed to be between 200 and 400 pounds. And we planted these at the same time that we planted the jack-o'-lanterns and the stackers. So Hopefully they have enough time to grow that big. If not, then I learned a lesson and I'll plant them earlier for my kids next year. So we'll see what happens. If they don't grow big and they're right by the road, I'm gonna look like a fool. So that's the tour of our pumpkin patch, the gourds, the cushaws, and all the different varieties of pumpkins that we're growing out here this year. I mean, we really only have about 4 or 5 acres out here total. Right back there is the corn maze on the other side of our driveway. So our driveway is all that's separating them. So we'll have a little bit longer of a hayride to come over to the pumpkin patch this year. And maybe you'll get to enjoy that for a little bit longer that way. So we're gonna do some upgrades to our wagon. Hopefully just make it a better experience for you out here this year. Trying to add a little something every year. We've got other things coming down the pipe. We can't talk about those yet because Micah might run out of time and not be able to get them all done. So I'm not gonna open my mouth yet. While I've been giving you all the grand tour of all the varieties, the world's greatest son has been out here in all of his glory and gloves and blisters, chopping out all these weeds back through here. When I left him, there's a hoe laying up there. He's got all this by himself while I was gone, flapping my jaws. I guess that's why I don't have blisters and he does, but he's a good fella. He's a lot of good help. After walking through it all right then, this row is definitely the worst. So once it's done, the worst is over. Okay. We still got a few more rows to do, but they'll go twice as fast. Golly, how big that one is, Corbin. Yeah. Look out! Let me get this side. That's a big one, isn't it? Yeah. Well, that's 2 rows down and about a dozen more to go. But that last row that we just did was the worst, wasn't it? Oh, yeah. It was terrible. So thanks for your help today, buddy. Mm-hmm. You're the best. I don't know where Carol's at.
Yeah, she don't want help from that.
She's worthless when it comes to chopping out weeds, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's just a little small to operate this equipment right now. So her time's coming, don't worry. Look right there, here comes Mom. Home just in time when we're quitting. The work's done. Mom shows up. Maybe I'm lying a little bit. Corey works out here all day. Corey has been to the extension office this evening to help plan our Farm to Fork event that's coming up next week. So if you're here in Scottsville, be looking out for that next year. I'm pretty sure they're sold out for this year. So great event. All the food for the meal comes from right here in Allen County, from Allen County producers. So it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. Nothing like a beautiful Kentucky sunset through the broken windshield of a 1982 Chevy truck. Gotta give a little mineral to the girls. A little wind and rain with Alticid fly control and a Vela 4 minerals so that we know they get maximum absorption. Only the best. Good stuff. I'm here to tell you, I can just watch cows and their babies all day, every day. Love them. Good looking babies. I just about forgot one thing at the end of the day here. Corey sprayed the mum today and now they need a little fertilizer. So we're gonna mix the fertilizer up here in our injection system so that we can keep them fed. So what we have here is a commercial grade 2020 water soluble fertilizer. And it looks a lot like a common brand that most people would know by the name of Miracle Grow. And guess what? It's really similar to it. It's just a commercial quantity and style of it. we mix it up in this barrel full of water, and this chemicalizer injector will suck up 1 gallon of this solution for every 100 gallons of regular water that goes through. So it's a 1 to 100 ratio. And that bag in that barrel will give us the concentration of nitrogen that we need to keep our mums growing and beautiful. See how blue it looks now?
Yeah.
Some growers in our area are experiencing some premature budding of the plants already. They're starting to actually see color come out in some of them. And luckily, we're not seeing that yet. They think that it's due to a lot of wet conditions early on in the growing season, as well as some low light conditions from the smoke from Canada blocking out some UV light. So Korbin and I are just out here walking through them, make sure we're not seeing some flower buds start to set on ours yet. So here's how our mum watering system works. It comes out of the hydrant, through the hose to the injector pump. The injector picks up the fertilizer concentrate out of this barrel and injects it into the water going to the mums at a ratio of 1 to 100. Then we have 4 zones. 1, 2, 3, and down there's 4. 4 different zones of flowers. And this is zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and zone 4. And we have each one set up to water for 59 minutes per day, starting at 2 a.m. with zone 1, 3 a.m. with zone 2, 4 a.m. with zone 3, and 5 a.m. with zone 4. You might also be wondering why I had this weed propped up beside of the injector pump. But that's actually a weeping willow tree. I cut it down out of our yard. I was gonna move it, but it was too big, so I just cut it down. Corey got mad. So before it died, I cut some limbs off of it and stuck them down in this water, and we've grown roots. And we'll soon be ready to plant these. So if you got a weeping willow tree and you wanna move it, or it's getting too big and you wanna start over, cut a limb or 2 off, just stick it down in a bucket of water and it'll grow roots and you'll have new trees. Country road, take me home to the place where I belong. How about Korbin's favorite John Denver song? Well, a simple kind of life never did me no harm, raising me a family and working on the farm. Days are all filled with an easy country charm.
Thank God I'm a country boy.
Well, we didn't see any mums blooming out there. Corey said that she saw one she thinks might be, so we're gonna keep a close eye on them and see what happens. But thanks for coming along with us while we chopped out the pumpkins. And now it's popcorn.
And Star Wars.
Popcorn and Star Wars on the TV. And one last thing. We found out Sunday while we were eating lunch that Corey's biggest fan is...
Izzy. Thanks for watching, Izzy.
Come and play with me.
Carol wants you to come out and play. So come out and play anytime you want to, Izzy. Stop by and see us sometime. And to the rest of you, hit that subscribe button because we can grow some really big pumpkins out here and some really beautiful mums. But we can't grow our channel without your help. Have a great night.